everybody, this is Sara and Stephanie from the Lincoln Park Library with this month's books we've read. And this month our topic is fantasy books. We haven't covered that topic yet, so we thought that's something different that we would go over with you. So the book that I chose to do is a YA book. It's The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins. It's the prequel to The Hunger Games. So if you've read The Hunger Games, it's really cool because the main character in this is Snow, but as a teenager, and it's the beginning of him being involved in the Hunger Games. So you can see him involved, and there's a lot of parts throughout the book that if you read The Hunger Games, you're like, oh, that's why that happened. But one thing that I really love about it is because it's a prequel and it can stand on its own. So if you've never read The Hunger Games, you could easily read this first and it wouldn't spoil anything from The Hunger Games and it would still make sense. So if you haven't read it, you could read this first and then The Hunger Games if you wanted to. And so how I just said, if you've read The Hunger Games, you'd be like, oh, that's why. It'd be the opposite. You would then read The Hunger Games and be like, oh, okay, I remember that happening in the book. So what I thought was really interesting is the character Snow, and if you've seen the movies and you know it too, the character Snow is really awful. He's an evil guy. And in this book, he's not. He's a teenager, and like I said, he's the first group to really be a mentor in the Hunger Games, and he helps create the way that the Hunger Games currently are. So you see him being an innocent teenager growing into what we then know him in the Hunger Games. So I really recommend it. I really liked it. And Stephanie, your book?
Okay, so my book is Witches Be Crazy by Logan J. Hunder. Now, this is not, we don't own this in the Lincoln Park Library. I borrowed this from Roxbury. And I came across this book because I was in the patron catalog looking at something and I saw it there and the title made me laugh. So I just put it on request and it came. And unfortunately, the only funny thing about it is the title. It was probably the worst book that I've read in a really long time. I was reading it in bed. It took me months to read this book. Because it was that bad.
It did. We talked about this a while ago about doing it, and then
yeah. And I couldn't read this. It was like a chore to finish this. I remember I was laying in bed, maybe it was last week or the week before, and I said to my husband, this is like the most terrible book. And he said, well, stop reading it. And I said, I can't. I'm reading it for books we've read. And he said, well, just tell everybody it was so bad you couldn't finish it. But for the 10 people that watch our videos, I pushed through and finished this book just for you so that I could tell you about it. Goodreads gave this a 3.27 out of 5. How that happened, I will never know. Some people compared him to the wittiness of Douglas Adams and Monty Python films, which I 100% don't agree with, especially Douglas Adams. Monty Python films, I don't really get them because there's too much like stupidity about them, but I know men really find them to be funny. They like that slapstick comedy, and I know Sara does.
Yeah, I do. My rabbit, he's no longer with us, but his name was Monty from Monty Python.
So the thing that I really didn't like about this book, it was supposed to be satire and a parody, but it just wasn't funny at all. It just came off as sexist and homophobic and misogynistic and fat shaming and over the top situations fantasy is over the top situations. That's what it is. You have to suspend reality when you're reading a fantasy book. But this was like beyond that. It was just unreal. Slapstick humor, like there was constantly people being beaten up all the time, which just really gets old after a while. And every single woman, pretty much female character in this book, was sexist, misogynistic. They just they were cliched in every way, had no real character. So the story is King Ick died, and he apparently has a super beautiful, ridiculously beautiful long lost daughter that no one even knew that he had a daughter. And now she's taken over, but she can't really rule because she's a woman. So she needs to marry somebody so that I guess they can actually be the ruler, because, you know, women can't rule. And somehow in the kingdom of Faroe, everybody was killed on the by the princess. She had all of her militia, military, you know, they all killed everybody there so she could take over that kingdom. And then supposedly she was going to be taking over the kingdom where Dungar lived. So he decided that he's going to go and kill the princess and save his kingdom. So just as he's about to leave, this kind of crazy drifter named Jiminy comes into his inn, because he's a blacksmith turned innkeeper. And he just doesn't like the guy because he talks a lot and he was annoying him. So what he does when he is annoyed by his patrons is he takes them up to the second floor and throws them out the window.
Standing
So
by.
that's what he did. But then Jiminy decides to continue following him. So they set off together on this adventure to kill the princess. And of course they encounter like every fantasy cliche along the way. Crazy pirates who turn out to be homosexual pirates. So that's where the homophobia comes in, because it was just over the top cliched, you know. And then the weird thing that a lot of people found funny, but I did not find funny, is that this book is supposed to take place hundreds and hundreds of years ago, but they were making all kinds of pop culture references. So that was just really jarring, and I didn't really like that. I also found the writing to not really be good. Like, remember when I said I didn't really love All the Light We Cannot See? The writing in it was fantastic. I mean, he is an amazing author. I just found the story itself to be kind of boring. No, this guy is a really bad writer. I mean, there's like tense changes within the same sentence, which I know would drive Sara totally insane. And, you know, and he would use the same descriptors a lot. So, you know, I mean, he just needed a thesaurus, you know, like constant, like the same adjectives all the time. And it got really boring. It kind of felt like the same sort of story, just now it's the homophobic pirates, and now it's the crazy cult people, and now it's the man-hating women. But it was okay. So anyway,
so mine's just, you know, murdering children. It's fine. And yours,
which is totally fine, you know. That's how all the kids movies are the kids books, right? The YA ones. They're not good unless like somebody dies.
Yeah, YA, but like I love YA. It's probably one of my favorite genre. Well, I wouldn't really say, but areas to read. And yeah, a lot of them are really depressing and like awful. But yeah, they're really good.
Also, and I love a good pun, which is why I was attracted to this book in the first place, because the title is a pun.
Mm-hmm.
But the puns in the book were just too many. You know, like we're going back to Douglas Adams' book. He throws in a pun once in a while, so that makes it funnier instead of like a constant stream of puns or something like that. Anyway, so every situation, I mean, the part that I hated the most was probably when they ended up in the Amazonian village of all women who were, and that's where the fat shaming came in, the misogyny. It's like everything was pink and there was a bathroom everywhere because you know, all women love pink and we always need to go to the bathroom. And the evil character in the Amazonian village, she was like the boss lady of the village, and she was incredibly obese. And I felt that was really fat shaming, because I mean, he made the character like she could never stop eating. I mean, she'd be in the middle of like a sword fight and she's shoving food in her mouth just to like.
So
do we know? And he was sort of equating fatness with evil, and I just really, that just really bothered me. And I can tell you that a lot of the people on Goodreads that did not like this book, that was also the section that they really had a problem with. And not surprisingly, it was mostly women.
So do they ever actually meet witches?
Yes, actually. Well, I'm going to tell you how the story goes because don't read it. I mean, really. So in the end, they meet up with the beautiful princess, and her townspeople are revolting against her. She's locked in her castle. She's like, what the heck's going on? Her military is out in the square just killing people. And somehow they make it into the castle. How? I don't know. But they do. And they tell her what's going on. And she was like, what? I didn't tell them to kill anybody. What's going on? And so she tries to go out to stop the killing. And then that just, then they end up having to run away because all the townspeople don't believe her and they want to kill her. So the witch is actually a wizard. But apparently witches are bad, but wizards are good in this book.
Yes. So another
sexist thing. Exactly. Yeah. So the wizard was the advisor, and he was able to transform into her. So he was pretending to be her, telling the knights to go and kill everybody and kill all the people in the kingdom of Faroe and all that sort of stuff.
So it sounds like it had a possibility of being good.
It had
an interesting plot line, just was really bad and terrible.
Yeah. And the other thing I didn't like too, going back to the Amazon thing, is the evil obese boss lady would control the other women of the town by making false claims of rape against like every man that came into the town. And I felt that it's already so difficult for people to come forward with that. So it was sort of like rape victim shaming. I don't know what exactly the term would be officially, but that's what it really felt like. And I was like, oh, and all the women are scared of spiders. I like and it wasn't just, it was like every cliche you could think of for every, it was supposed to be funny. Definitely. I could see that that's where it started, but it just, he just didn't pull it off. That's all I have to say. Although some people loved it. That's how it ended up with 3.27 on Goodreads, because some people thought this was the most hilarious book, and some people think it's going to be made into a movie. It was that funny.
That's one thing I love about books, is everyone has such different opinions on them.
They do, and that's why we do this show.
Yep. So this month, one that we recommend and one we very much don't recommend.
Yeah, but if you want to read it, you just have to borrow it from Roxbury, because I'm not buying it.
Well, I'm not going to. I think I have enough on my plate at the moment, reading wise. Then again, we both always have a huge stack next to us.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, I was up till 1 o'clock last night because I had to find out who killed him. Not in this book, in another book. Because, you just, I was like, I can't go to bed until I find out who the killer is.
I had that the other day. My kids kept talking to me, or my phone kept ringing, like, I have 20 pages left. Like, please leave me alone. So, all right. Well, I guess until next month. And again, as always, if you have a topic you'd like us to go over, we're still working on the coronavirus one. Did our books ever come in?
Some of them did.
Okay.
Yeah, but I don't think they've been all processed yet, because I want them to all be processed so that then people can borrow them.
Okay. So that may be next month's video, might be April's video. So yeah. But anyway, bye everyone. Thank you.